Good morning. It is 8:30. I'll go ahead and call today's meeting of the Clay County Board of Commissioners to order. Our first item on the agenda today is an approval of the agenda.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
A motion offered from Commissioner Bear to approve.
Second.
A second from Commissioner Campbell. Discussion. 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 All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Citizens to be heard. Are any citizens in the audience wishing to address the county board today? Are there any citizens in the audience wishing to address the board? Steve, have we had any requests to speak online?
Nothing, Madam Chair.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda today is our approval of payment of bills and vouchers, in which you all received
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to pay the bills and vouchers.
a motion offered to approve the payment of bills and vouchers from Commissioner Bear.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Krabnoft. Discussion? Discussion? Discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries. The minutes from May 12th, 2026 were in the packet.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from May 12, 2026.
We have a motion offered to approve the minutes
Second.
and a second from Commissioner Ebinger. Discussion? 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 All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. 2 today is the request approval of the letter of support for the Federal Rail Administration grant. We have our county engineer with us today, Justin Sorum. Good morning, Justin.
Good morning. So yes, this first letter of support is for the city of Dilworth. So BNSF on behalf of the city of Dilworth is applying for what's called a CRISI grant. This is a project that the railroad's really been pushing for. It was part of the Metro Rail study, and BNSF is also covering the cost of this grant application. If successful, this would eliminate a county crossing in Dilworth once it's constructed, and it is very needed in this area. If you've ever been in Dilworth, that crossing is constantly blocked.
Questions for Justin? Questions?
Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve the letter of support for the Federal Rail Administration grant.
A motion offered to approve the request from Commissioner Krabnoft.
Second.
A second from Commissioner Bear. Discussion. Any discussion? I think this is an important collaboration between the city and the county, and it really does seem to make the most sense and always support the ability to utilize grants to help. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries. Item 3 is also yours today.
Yeah, so this one's very similar. This is a letter of support for a Federal Rail Administration Safety Program grant. So MnDOT is preparing this application. There's 8 crossings throughout District 4 that they're looking at, one of them being located in Clay County. If they were funded, it would just basically update like crossing arms, signs, everything like that, to where typically that's a split between the railroad and the road agency. This would cover the cost of that.
Justin, it doesn't identify what Clay County crossing is?
No, so the request came through Steve, and I tried to call the lady that was applying for it just to see, because it didn't indicate where the crossing was, so I was not able to find that.
So you feel like this board making a motion of support only helps, even though that has not been identified?
Yep, so it is, I think it's a good thing to apply for. I don't know what crossing it is, but I still feel as though it's needed. If MnDOT's identifying the crossing as needing repair, I think it's a good thing.
And we internally have identified crossings that we want to continue to see where the most safety upgrades can be, so I appreciate that.
Yep, and MnDOT has a rail office. So last year, for example, the one just outside of Glendon, they did receive a grant for this, and it got new signals,
Great.
which we didn't have to pay anything for.
Great. Additional questions? Questions?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the letter of support for Federal Rail Administration Railroad Crossing Safety Program grant.
Second.
Motion offered from Commissioner Bear, second from Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Campbell?
I still think it'd be nice to know if we could reach out to MnDOT and find out what that location is in the event that we were to be getting questions from landowners in those areas. We would at least know.
So I did leave her a voicemail on Friday. I just haven't heard back yet.
Thank you.
Thank you. Make sure when you do identify that to forward to Steve for us as well.
Yep, I will do that.
Any additional questions? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Thank you.
Justin. Item 4 today is a request approval to lease 10 vehicles from Enterprise Fleet Management for the Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Empting, good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Thanks for having me here this morning. I am requesting approval to lease 10 vehicles from Enterprise Fleet Management. These vehicles would replace current leased vehicles that we have. As you can see from my request, we have total internal service funds available of $668,583.62. The total amount of the lease would be $545,305.56. Mind you, that is for the total amount of the lease, for one car being 48 months and the other cars being 36 months. It's not a one-time request per year. And then the estimated vehicle upfitting cost would be $110,115.04 for a total cost of $655,420.60. And just for informational for the commission, 2022 was the last time we flat out purchased vehicles from Nelson Auto, and at that time, for 8 vehicles for a one-time cost was $307,000. For this, it's per year would be $177,848.40. So there's a savings there for the leased vehicle program.
Thank you for identifying that, Sheriff. We were looking at that and, based on what you can purchase a Tahoe on the market right now, we're substantially under the money. It seems as though the move to Enterprise has really proved beneficial, not just for your department, but for maintenance as well. I do want to say that it's also good to note internally that internal service fund is doing what we anticipated, that we're continuing to earmark funds in the appropriate amount so that we can continue to move that forward. And then my last comment is, seems to be that we're able to get the Tahoes again. I know that was a difficult before.
Yes, that's correct. They are actually showing up much sooner than the Fords. For example, the Tahoe showed up this year, January, February, where we already have some of our Tahoes on the street. We're still waiting for 2 of our Fords that we ordered. They're not here yet, and they were ordered, last year, September, October timeframe. So it's taken a long time for them to show up.
Okay. Questions from the board? Commissioner Ebinger?
Were you able to get white ones or?
Black.
Okay.
Yep, we're switching to black, yep. It started off as a supply chain issue is why we switched to black, and then we just kind of continued to go down that road.
I kind of like the looks of them better, so.
Yep.
Additional questions? Yes, Commissioner Campbell?
Not a question, but just a comment. So when you look at the sticker price of a Tahoe today, and when you compare that to the 36-month lease payment that we would make, we would probably have to, if we were to buy those out, we would probably have to sell those in excess of over $30,000 at the end of that 36-month period. And not knowing, some of those could end up with fairly high mileage on them. So again, I think it's very cost beneficial, I think, in this particular case in leasing versus the buying. So fully support your request.
Steve?
And just to add to Commissioner Campbell's comment, Madam Chair, we've been able to make adjustments to our internal service and our budgets because of the rental agreements and the amount that we're able to sell them back for. So for our citizens, we're able to, I guess, lower our levy requests by participating in the enterprise.
Any other, yes, Commissioner Bear?
On average, how many miles does a patrol vehicle get a year?
It really depends on the deputy. That we have one deputy that he is constantly driving, and in 3 years, he'll put on 115 to 120,000 miles, and then there are others that are putting on anywhere between, 85 to 100,000.
Yeah.
And I know, just in speaking with Enterprise, they do like to try and cycle the cars out before 100,000 miles because their resale value is much better and they get more dollars for them. So if we are able to recycle them prior to 100,000, they would prefer to do that.
And just to follow up more on that, Enterprise works with Joe and the sheriff that in the event that there's like a peak point, even before the 36 months are out, they manage that for us to get the most out of, because it's, the benefit to the county is this isn't like a normal lease where at the end you just turn it in. If there's revenue or if there's additional dollars left in that, once we trade it back in, the county gets to receive those dollars.
Questions? Commissioner?
Yeah, maybe that answers the question I had, but, so they work with you on anticipating costs as they go in the future?
That's correct, yes. We meet quarterly with our enterprise rep, and we go through our entire fleet. And we try and determine, which car is gonna be best to cycle out first, so we can get rid of it prior to those mileage, so we can get the best bang for our buck, so to speak, so we can,
Yeah.
the resale is better.
Good service.
Questions?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the lease of 10 vehicles from the Enterprise Fleet Management for the Sheriff's Office.
Second.
We have a motion offered from Commissioner Bear, second from Commissioner Ebinger. A clarification, this is also approving the lease, but also the estimated fit-up cost, is that correct?
That would
Does
be
your
included.
motion reflect that? Is the second? Okay, any additional questions? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Thank you.
Sheriff. Item 5 today, committee reports. Commissioner Ebinger?
Ready for you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Last Thursday, the 21st, I attended the special meeting of the board of the Greater Fargo Moorhead EDC. The meeting was called to consider a contract that had been proffered by Cass County as a requirement for their continued funding support of the EDC. There were some extensive conversations over the last month or so about this. We basically had three options to vote on. One is to decline the contract, at which case Cass County had indicated they would withdraw the considerable support to the EDC. They not only pay for but represent Fargo, West Fargo, and Cass County. And there's some substantial state funding that goes through Cass County to the EDC for some projects. The other would be we sign a contract and meet the specifications in that contract. And the third was that really, those are the two items we ended up with at the end of the conversation, or two options. One of the major points I had, and I think a lot of the other board members had, was that Cass County wanted to have approval rights over the annual budget of the EDC. They also wanted to eliminate any contract positions within the EDC and put all the employees as at-will employees. In the latest version of the contract they presented, they had removed the budget approval component of it. And there's only one contract employee in the EDC at this point, and that's the executive director. and his contract will end at the end of the year. And the contract with Cass County required that all employees being at will starts at the beginning of next year. So effectively, there was nothing very objectionable about the contract they were agreeing to with Cass County, and that on vote of the board passed 6-1 in favor of signing the contract. Later that day, I attended the Lake Agassiz Regional Library Board full meeting. Probably the primary thing we got in there that's relevant to discussion is a new formula that has been developed for the annual cost determination for each of the signatories. We looked at the old method, the formula had been around since 1995, and it was based on 80% borrower transaction, 10% population of the signatory's jurisdiction, and 10% of the property value of that jurisdiction. And it was kind of a convoluted process. As part of the discussions we've had since late last year, we asked to see what the actual cost of each signatory's operation is, and how does that compare with what they're paying. And we did find some differences, some of them marked differences. Clay County, if I have that handy. Clay County was paying 103% of what it costs to run our operations in Clay County, whereas some other jurisdictions were paying as low as 71% of their costs. These were generally smaller jurisdictions, but we reformulated it to where the cost is based on the operating costs of the entity. Now, some of these, the smaller communities, Wilkin County, Polk County, would find themselves in a real whiplash if that happened over a one-year period. So the motion that was put forward and passed was that it be based on cost, but it's changed over a 4-year period, so that these other communities are going to be able to anticipate the marked increase in their fees, and it won't be a traumatic thing over a one-year period. As a result of that, and this is still open for discussion, but they're asking for a 7% increase from all the signatories this year to absorb some of the salary costs and moving costs and everything else we've gotten, but we would only have a 5.39% increase. And we would continue to reflect a lower increase than the request 3 years after this until it stabilizes at actual cost. If there's any marked, either somebody that can't meet the request comes in for an increase, or they can't meet, some of the smaller jurisdictions, they can't meet the increases they're looking at every year, the option is to cut back on services, and that's something that they'll have to consider. So that motion came forward, and it was passed unanimously. It's not a great thing, but it's the best thing we can do for the smaller jurisdictions that need to get adjusted and need to make up it's hard times for all of us. And so that was what we came up with at the conclusion of that.
Commissioner Ebinger, can I
Yeah.
ask a question? How is the communication, what is the communication plan for their smaller entities? I think from your reports before, you've talked a little bit about making sure that they knew there was some discussions about this, but now,
Staff is, in the meetings we have, each community is represented. But staff is also from Lake Agassiz has also been in contact And not only are they or they have been keeping them abreast of what's going on, a lot of them were represented either by Zoom or present at the meeting. And Liz, the executive director, will be making the rounds, including with us, over the next couple of months. She's going to appear before the commissions and councils of all the signatories. They're very much aware that, and really, as the board goes, the participation of everybody has been pretty good.
Thank you.
I'd be happy to answer any other concerns.
One other question,
Sure,
Madam
Bear.
Chair. So Clay County would be Barnesville location, Hawley's location, and then the Ulen location, right? Not Moorhead. Moorhead is an entity.
Moorhead is the biggest and the only entity, and they have been operating right at 100, which was, I mean, basically they're break even right now. They're where everybody ought to be. And Becker County and Detroit Lakes, I think we're 110 and 109 and 111%, and they had big concerns. And they're the ones, one of the Becker County representatives was the one that put forward, we need to do this, stage it over. We looked at 2, 3, or 4 years. And, you know, we want to support the library system as a whole. So we went with the 3.
Additional questions? Is that,
Yeah, that's,
I got one more, and this was pleasant. Commissioner Mojo and I attended on the 22nd, the Sheriff's Department's gathering to recognize some of their employees and to look at some promotions, and 2 civilians. There was a life-saving award where actions directly save an individual who was there. A gentleman who had a heart attack out in Holly. It included 2 deputies, a trooper from State Patrol, and a Holly police officer, and 1 emergency response team member, and 2 citizens who took action when they saw the gentleman go down with a heart attack. They started CPR. And it was just it was a great story. They got the guy's heart going again, and he was conversing the whole bit when they put him on the helicopter. They got him out to Holly Airport, and it was just a wonderful, there are a lot of good stories about good police response that aren't nice, but this was a very nice thing. Man was there with his family, and he'd survived a heart attack because not only the first responders, but the people in the community were there for him. There was also, and they gave life-saving awards to the officers involved in that. There was also a commendable service award for 2 deputies and a Medal of Valor award for 4 deputies who responded to a call in Moorhead last year. It was a very difficult situation. Suspects were shot at that scene. There was an exchange of gunfire, and the officers acted in a really commendable manner. And it just reminds you what kind of people and what kind of department we've got with our sheriff's office. The ceremony also had 2 promotions. Sheriff's office promoted Sergeant Nicole Reno to Lieutenant Nicole Reno. She'll be taking over the position of emergency coordinator with Sheriff's Office. And then Sergeant Michael Files was promoted to sergeant. Both of them worked with me in the Moorhead Police Department many years ago. They're both very good officers, and we're fortunate to have that kind of leadership coming up through the ranks. But my compliments to Sheriff Hempting and to his department and his people. And it was a very nice way of recognizing this outstanding behavior. So that completes my report.
thank you, Commissioner Ebinger. Commissioner Kravanaugh.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the 19th, we had a monthly meeting for the Clay County Adult Mental Health LAC. They had presented to us the week before. So we talked briefly about that. report that they brought to us and talked about the feedback, all positive. We did our agency reports, sharing of information. I think we had 9 different agencies at this meeting. And again, just finding out where needs are, referrals, those type things, and everybody's certainly busy in this world on a professional level. The last part of that meeting was, as far on the consumer side, is people will still have a booth at the Clay County Fair. They normally set up a little table by us on that Friday when we have Government Day. On the 20th, I had the Historical and Cultural Society Finance meeting. Our budget is on track. It's tracking well. In certain areas a little higher, others a little lower, but it's all working out. We had an extensive talk about the upcoming budget in '27, working with the county without any increases, and then also we'll be working toward a new city lease for the Historical Society. So one of the things that was a deeper discussion is ways of sustainability for the society so that we aren't relying on government for as much, and we actually are working on strategies with a company, Telwell, and how to do that for more endowments, gifts, just more memberships and strategies, and throughout our system to be more revenue building. On Thursday, the 21st, so I don't know if I mentioned this before, but over the last few months, as part of the Suicide and Substance Use Prevention Committee, Commissioner Everger is on this too, they have given it a new name, working it in, and it's called Rethink Mental Health Coalition. The coalition on the mailing list is about 80 professionals and people surrounded in the work of mental health through our public, and it runs through our public health services. Excuse me. So there's rebranding going on, and so from this point on, we'll just call it Rethink Mental Health for our group, and they're working on a new logo as we speak. Presentation for the month was a organization called Change the Outcome. It's a meaningful program that provides education for Clay County students surrounding the opioid epidemic, emerging drug trends, and substance use disorders. She was coming in, this lady that did the presentation, worked a lot in the Twin Cities, and the challenge they have there, but it was interesting in their groups where probably the greatest needs are and work being done. They find that 25% of the children that are at high risk also are being raised by parents with some type of substance use disorder. So anything we can do to help those families get off to a better start, we need to. Also, there was just a report given on the Suicide Prevention Summit. That was really good, a kind of a recap, if you will. I was unable to make that, but there was about 200 professionals that were part of that summit. One of the presentations was through our sources of strength, which we talk about often, that through public health, we're doing that at Moorhead and Holly. And anyway, they had a panel of 8 students, and talking about what they're doing, working peer-to-peer, giving peer-to-peer supports, and as well as education, and just a gathering, and it's not always about drugs. It can be depression, it can be many grieving, it can be many factors involved in this, and how working student to student, it's just, this group is getting bigger and bigger. And there was one really gripping story that was told at the summit. And there was a student that was contemplating suicide. He was on the bridge, and it just happened to be he was standing there, and a truck went by and stopped and said, "Do you need help?" And it just gave him enough time to think, and he got help, and now he's working through his challenges, and anyway, he received a standing ovation from the 200 people. So anyway, sharing stories, and people just need to know they aren't alone. So that was the meetings I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Krabnow. Commissioner Campbell.
I had one meeting last week while I was out of town. I was going to attend virtually, and I had a difficult time connecting, so I was unable to be part of that, and that was the chamber meeting on our wrap-up of the session, so I'm sure Commissioner Mosher will give an update, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Campbell. Commissioner Bear.
I had one meeting going all the way back to the Tuesday, the 12th, for the EDA EDC, which you all reported on last week. But I'd also like to give a thank you to all legislatures out there for their hard work during the session and addressing our county's needs in the bonding bill that was passed. So that is all I have to report, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Bear. Last week, I attended the Planning Commission meeting. We had an IUP request in Keene Township for a gravel mine. It was a revisit of a 2023 permit that was granted but not mined, 39.5 acres. That did pass with unanimously. There was some concerns. There's a bin site on the west side of the road, and as the road sometimes gets a little rough, folks tend to veer into that private approach. So making sure that that was noted and working with the sheriff's office and county engineer on making sure that that isn't happening in the future. And then because it was a light agenda, we did have a really good update, more of a discussion presentation on data centers and what the trends we're seeing throughout the nation, but particularly in Minnesota. When Commissioner Bear and I attended the nuts, bolts, and boardroom, data centers conversations are happening in a lot of counties throughout the state, and so talked a little bit about what counties can do, what the standard of practice, if you will, is on some of these substantially larger ones. But if you think about the project that was presented in Worthington, down in Nobles County, it was almost 1,000 acres. So these substantially large land use projects are on the horizon, and I appreciate that Matt Jacobson is keeping us all abreast. I did talk to him about sending that presentation to the rest of the board, knowing that we don't have any requests in Clay County right now, but I think it would be helpful just so folks can keep up to date on that piece. The next day, I attended the Red River Basin Commission Joint Powers Board meeting. We did have a presentation from Grit May from the International Water Institute on rural flood mapping. Really great data set that they have throughout the basin. And then Danny Halverson talked about the River Watch and River of Dreams programs that they have in school districts throughout the basin. Clay County does have some some school districts that are working with them, and what they do is they take these little canoes that are made in Thief River Falls, and students are able to pinpoint where they put the boats in the water stream, and then the hope is that it's able to continue to be tracked throughout. There's a little QR code, and it's kind of like geocaching. If someone finds it and scans it and checks in, it's really a helpful educational piece for kids to see where the boats end up. A lot of them tend to get ensnarled under bridges and whatnot, but a really cool presentation on that.
Madam
Yes,
Chair.
Commissioner Bear.
One note on that, my fourth grade daughter sent off her boat on the Red River just last week, so.
Yeah. Yeah, and it really is, as we all, I remember, working and seeing, we talk about drains and what the ditches or the runoff goes to the rivers, but it's just another helpful piece for kids to think about where exactly that is. And some have made it to Lake Winnipeg, which is exciting as well. And then we did have other business talking about revisiting the Joint Powers Board agreement, and this might be to our elder statesman of the group, Commissioner Campbell, who was around when we talked about joining that. And really, it was an opportunity for the Minnesota entities of the Basin Commission to have an opportunity to be a sounding board about the projects that were happening on the Minnesota side. And I don't believe that that agreement has been revisited since its inception. And there was some minor funding component that was talked about, how it was tied to growth of the individual counties and making sure that if that's something, I know our contribution to the Basin Commission is smaller, but if that's something that is continued, just making sure that we update the bylaws, I think is important. And then for a number of years, it's really been the same folks attending that, Marshall and Pennington and Clay and Becker, and making sure those gaps in the Joint Powers Board, those folks are either updated or know that it happens. So I really think it's worthwhile for Clay County to continue to advocate on that level. Certainly the amount of matching grants that they have secured has been helpful for us. And then the next day, as noted, I did have the update on the legislative work that we were able to accomplish with all of you from the flood mitigation ask at the legislature. That call was only flood mitigation focused, so we did have the Buffalo Red Watershed District, the FM Diversion Authority in the city of Moorhead active there. Senator Kupek was able to attend, and being able to secure such a large amount of bonding dollars to help make sure that we protect the Minnesota interests in those projects are really important. Obviously, it protects the entire project, but those are the components that we need to button up. So, in a tricky bonding year, it was really all hands on deck to get that across the finish line, and appreciate that we were able to do that. I just want to give a shout out there. Now I'm gapping. Amy from Neon Loon had done a phenomenal job of helping to do this, the communications components, all of the material that we handed out at the legislature. She would quickly update and get that information to everyone. But the day before our last push at the legislature, Amy delivered 3.5 bags of stress relief sandbags to my house at 11 p.m. because they had not come in until after 8 o'clock. And so she ran out to the farm to make sure that they were on the deck so that when I left at 5, they were there. And the staff lift on that piece can't go unnoticed. So thank you for all of those folks that helped. And I attended the NACO Rural Action Counties Caucus meeting. Interesting of note that the issues that we're all continuing to hear about, the challenges that our cities with the economic meeting that we had 2 weeks ago, are all similarly reflected in smaller counties throughout the nation. I appreciate the opportunity to attend that meeting. And then I attended the MetroCog Policy Board meeting, and it's disappointing that we were unable to reach a quorum. Unfortunately, we have so many Fargo commissioners on that, and we were unable to reach a quorum. So in the bylaws that we are still able to pay staff, hopefully that we can get North Dakota folks to attend that meeting. They're over 50%, and that's the challenge. And then I attended, I apologize, I'm a week ahead of schedule. And the next day, as Commissioner Ebbinger reported on, I did have the opportunity to attend the Sheriff's Office Awards, and appreciate that Sheriff emptying holds those. It's such a great opportunity to celebrate the wonderful things happening within the department. So congratulations to those who received the awards, but also the promotions. For Lieutenant Reno to have her son Tommy pin on her badge on the same day that Tommy was graduating from DGF was quite a powerful day, but that entire room was full of community folks supporting the sheriff's office. And then I yesterday had the opportunity to attend the Memorial Day service in Barnesville, and I know there was a number of Memorial Day services happening throughout Clay County. Just a wonderful opportunity to celebrate and remember folks that we've lost, not only in service, but also honoring our four-star families as well. And then that concludes my reports. Steve?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Last Tuesday, I met with Annabelle, Rory Beal, and Jessica and discussed opioid settlements. I received I guess we had an update. We talked about the annual report requirements and just further discussed some of the requirements of the funding that we've received. Asked that Annabelle come forward here later this summer to provide the board an update of how they plan or would like to move forward with your support. That afternoon met with regional administrators, city managers. Again, most of the discussion was the fallout from the legislative session and what impacts and from bonding, the benefits that each of the counties and cities received. Also had a discussion with Quinn that afternoon. We discussed the SNAP impacts and additional increases from administrative costs and also the error rate. The 20th had a department head evaluation. Also met with Commissioner Kravenhoff and completed some paperwork with MCIT. Met on the 20th afternoon, I met with Trenton from the Cass Clay County Land Trust. Received an update on the work that they do here in our region. Just of note, several years ago, Trenton came here before the board and this board asked what work was being done on the Clay County side. As of this year, he'll have over 20 projects, or the team will have over 20 projects in Moorhead, Dilworth, and also now there's projects starting out in Barnesville. So that was a positive meeting. I met with Anna on the 21st, with her back in the office, and discussed several ongoing HR issues that are happening. On the 22nd, the MCC JPA prep meeting, we have a meeting coming up this week, and also participated in the flood mitigation work session. Again, thanks Senator Kupek for his work, and also really thank Kale from the chamber. Kale was instrumental in organizing that meeting on a weekly basis, and so we appreciate again the work of the chamber. And then just last of note, just following up Commissioner Everer's comment on the library, just for your recollection, this year we're funding the library at a level of $349,209. State statute requires local support of minimums. We receive those minimums for the upcoming budget in August. But just for your perspective, this year the minimum state requirement of support was $198,497. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Steve. Brian?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I thought I'd just mention, I do have my newest employee starting today, Edison. As the board knows and recalls, we you authorized us to look into helping paws and work towards getting a facility dog. And so we now have him here. He was here last week, but not starting in the office. Now he's going to start coming in half days. And there is some other certification that Pam is still working through, and Helping Paws asked us not to do any other official press release or other announcements till the full certification is done. And when that's done, we'll plan to bring him up here to the board and do a little bit more. But we're excited to, incorporate him into the helping of individuals, child abuse, child sexual abuse, domestic violence, other people that are suffering and going through issues and having to navigate the court system. And so we're looking forward to utilizing him much more. But starting today, he's here. So I just thought I'd mention that board, and again, thank you for your support of that.
Thank you, Brian. Darren?
Brian, we'll have to get him a badge and his I-9 form before he starts. We need 3 days for that. On Tuesday, I had a discussion with Anna and Corey and Ashley about a landfill operator position that's being filled. Also on Tuesday, I traveled to Madden's on Gull Lake and met with Mary Saracino. She works with Improv that works with our UKG platform, and we talked about a few things that their company could do to help out us in the HR payroll system. And then from 4 to 5, I had the MCCC membership meeting, also at Gull Madden's. On Wednesday, I went back to Madden's for the IFS user group meeting, which I was sitting in for Lori, and then at 2:30, we had the HR payroll meeting. Unfortunately, we didn't have a quorum, so I get to remain chair for another month. And hopefully next month we'll have a quorum and I can get out from under that. On Thursday, we had an EAC meeting on the planning of the picnic, which will be on June 23rd. That flyer should have gone out to everybody. And then on Friday, I also attended the Sheriff's Office Awards ceremony, which was covered by Commissioner Ebinger very well. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Darren. Sarah, do you have anything? Okay, thank you. On the advertised meetings, we do have that Clay County Treatment Courts alumni group launch this afternoon at 3:30, but having concluded all business before the board, our next scheduled meeting is Tuesday, June 2nd at 8:30. We are adjourned.